Okay, just like they said they would, the prosecution put Patrick Clancy up on the stand on day one. He was on both witness lists, so we knew we were going to hear from him either way, but the prosecution called him first. And I gotta say, from what I'm seeing so far, I don't get it. Like I'm having a hard time figuring out the methods that the prosecution is going to use during this trial. And I'm not sure he gave them, or he has given them so far. Maybe it will change when he comes back tomorrow and probably the next day, because this is probably going to be several days of him up on the stand. I'm just not sure if he's giving what they needed. Now Patrick has already publicly declared that he's on Lindsay's side, for lack of a better way of saying that. And so I think the prosecutor knows that he's not a hostile witness, but he's not going to be all that forthcoming. Like, he's just not. There was times yesterday where he didn't know answers and they had to refer back to his previous testimony. So I'm like, okay, did he just honestly forget these things? Does he not really honestly know the answer? Or is he being kind of willfully obtuse because he's trying not to help the prosecution? And again, this is just my opinion, which is what this is. I'm not a legal expert. I am not a medical expert. I have nothing to do with the court system, and I'm not a journalist. So I am allowed to come on here and just spout my own opinion while I drink my coffee every morning. If that's not your jam, you might want to move on, but that's what you're going to get from the content on this page. But here's what I took away from this, just overreaching before I get into some details. I think they're trying to prove that Lindsay is sane. They're trying to prove that she was very methodical. She planned everything out. She was somebody who every part of her life made sense, that she was in control of herself and her faculties, not just on that day, but always. Even with her previous births, she was always that way. But I think when they start showing pictures and videos and stuff of family outings, I'm sitting here thinking, well, wait a minute. Are you trying to prove she's a bad mom, or are you trying to prove she's a good mom? Because I think you did the latter. I feel like showing all of this happy fun time and quizzing Patrick about all the times he left Lindsay alone with different children. Well, he went and skiing with this one, and he went and did this one, or he's over here swimming with this one, and she's left alone with the baby. I feel like they're making the point that she was a good mom who loved her children. And so something's not connecting for me with this prosecution so far. So they get some history stuff out of the way right away, right? They met through his cousin, who was Lindsay's college roommate. They were married in 2016. Cora is born in December of 2017. The prosecution asks about after Cora's birth, and he says on the stand that Lindsay had some anxiety. She started to show anxiety toward the end of her leave. When it was time to go back to work, she went back to work part-time. And then after their son Dawson was born, kind of the same pattern. She took a longer leave of absence. It sounds like this may have been a much tougher delivery. I'm sorry, I don't know much about these things, but it sounds like the baby was breached, and so this is a very traumatic delivery. And then again, he said she struggled when it came time to go back to work. And this is an exact quote. She had a hard time being separated from them. With the first two pregnancies, he can't remember if she was ever on any type of medication, and there was never any hospitalization. But it was interesting because the prosecution asked about this project where she decided she was going to clean out the garage. She just got like this instinct, like garage was full of clutter. We must clean it out. I wrote WTF in my notes because I think this is going to come back later, that she was a control freak. But what I think this, in my opinion, this immediately goes to that mania piece, because I did a little bit of research, go back a couple videos on postpartum and psychosis and bipolar. And one of the things is this like mania where you just constantly have to like do things, and deciding shortly after your child is born that you have to take on this massive project of decluttering your garage. That sounds to me like she's suffering from some sort of mania. That's not just some bored lady who wants to boss her husband around and be a control freak. I feel like that's definitely an undiagnosed something. Then baby Callan comes along. The time the delivery was much better. Lindsay was supposed to originally take a maternity leave. It turns out she never went back, but she was scheduled to go back. And Patrick got a 12 12-week paternity leave. Phenomenal. I've never known anybody to get a 12-week paternity leave. Usually 2 is the limit. 12 weeks is more than most women get to actually have the baby. So to be a dad and get 12 weeks to spend at home with them is remarkable. But they spent all summer. The baby was born in May, and they spent all summer home together as a family. They did all these things as a family. They went boating, they went swimming, they went on vacation together. They did all kinds of things that summer. And he talked about plenty of times where he took the older children and went and did stuff and left her with the baby, or he would take, 2 of the children, and she would be with one. So they would kind of divide and conquer a lot with their coverage of the children. He said that the anxiety started in September. She was under a lot of stress. She was managing all 3 kids. He was working in the basement. He would sometimes watch the kids while Lindsay, took one of them to a doctor's appointment, or she was off doing something. He would come up out of his basement, and he would keep an eye on the other 2 kids while she was gone. And he would come up frequently throughout the day and have snacks with them and visit with them and check in on everybody. And I'm going to have to make a second video because there's so much more to cover, and it's just only half a day. But he said, he admitted that she started to see increased anxiety and stress when it came closer to time to returning to work. She felt like it was just the word he used was unnatural to be separated from a newborn. She wasn't comfortable leaving her children. She told him in November that she was going to begin taking Zoloft. The prosecution said, but she already had the prescription before she told you, correct? And Patrick said, yes, I guess so. So the prescription predates her telling her husband that she was going to start taking it. He said that what he noticed was she wasn't improving, that she was becoming more depressed. But then the prosecution countered, but you still did stuff. You went to a Halloween event. You went to your family's house for Thanksgiving. You went to this food festival. And they kept kind of showing these pictures and these reminders of all the things they did as a family and what a happy family they were. And look at the mom so involved with her kids. And I'm like, I'm confused, because don't you want to prove she doesn't like being a mom? Don't you want to prove that she hates her kids? Like, you're wanting to prove that she's a monster who murdered her kids, but yet everything you're showing, maybe I'm just not seeing it, but it seems to me like she was a good mom. I have to cut that off here because I've got so much more to cover. It's got to go to another video. Please come back for another video about Patrick Clancy's testimony.